5 years ago, 97 million American workers quit their jobs as part of the Great Resignation, forcing companies to offer some of the largest pay increases and expansion of benefits that we had seen since the 1970s. After half a century of wage stagnation and worsening work conditions here in the United States, it felt like things were finally looking up for the American worker. And then it stopped. The Federal Reserve aggressively raised interest rates, major companies enacted hiring freezes and return to office mandates, and we have now spent over 3 years in what economists call a frozen job market, meaning that almost nobody is hiring and no one quits, which is driving down wages, taking away workers' benefits, increasing unemployment rates for young adults who can't compete, and putting massive strain on American families as our cost of living continues to skyrocket. So, why is quitting your job a good thing? After all, we've been told from a young age that being a quitter is irresponsible, and that if you just stay loyal to one company, that you'll be rewarded with raises, promotions, prestige, and if you're super lucky, maybe even a pension. But here's the thing, statistically speaking, that's bullshit. Changing jobs regularly leads to 20 to 30% pay increases for workers, while staying put only averages you 2 to 5% raises every year. So it could realistically take you a decade of company loyalty in order to match the same salary that you would have otherwise had if you had quit your job 9 years ago. Now, obviously, job hopping is not an infinite money glitch, and if you quit your job too often, then that starts to make you less competitive, puts you at greater risk of being laid off, and doesn't give you enough time to meaningfully contribute to your retirement account. But if you job hop once or twice every decade, then the benefits massively outweigh the risks, because you're making more money, developing a more diversified skill set, and as a result, people take you more seriously. I've personally worked as an executive board member for Utah's Career Development Association. I've been a career specialist instructor and employer relations manager for a major university. I've managed workforce development programs for rural counties in the Rocky Mountains, and I received an endowment to directly research the job market back in grad school. And I don't say any of those things to be egotistical, but just to point out that that breadth of experience is a big part of why you guys and others trust me when I talk about things like the job market. Because if I had stayed in one of those positions for over 10 years, sure, I would have more depth, but I just wouldn't be taken as seriously. And we see that reflected in the data, where people who job hop end up in leadership or executive roles nearly a decade faster than those who stay loyal to one company. But not only is company loyalty bad for your wallet, it's also bad for society as a whole. Low hire, low fire job markets happen before almost every economic recession, because stagnation leads to fewer job openings, more people dropping out of the labor force, and allows for wages to be outpaced by inflation because companies aren't giving people raises. Ever since Friedman Doctrine took hold in 1981 under Ronald Reagan, corporate America has not once acted in workers' best interests unless they were forced to by either the government or by an economic crisis. And that's a huge part of why the job market was so good back in 2021, because a global crisis forced companies to make the job market good. But now that the job market has been frozen for several years, I worry that we are on the cusp of another economic reckoning. Because even though our official unemployment rate is at a historic low right now, that's only because the amount of people dropping out of the labor force is at a record high. As I've mentioned in previous videos, our official unemployment rate really only tracks people who recently lost their jobs and are actively in the process of landing a new one. If you go more than 4 weeks without applying for a job, if you give up on looking altogether, or if you take on any part-time or gig work for economic reasons, then you are no longer counted in official unemployment data. Instead, you are straight up ignored as a non-participant, just like retirees, children, and stay-at-home parents. And so that's one area where I see a potential economic reckoning on the horizon. But beyond all of that, we can't ignore the fact that wages are not keeping up with the cost of living. As you can see from this handy graph, we have officially entered a dreaded purple phase, where workers staying in the exact same roles are now worth less than they were a year and a half ago because raises have not kept up with rising costs. And so if you're an American worker right now, then your two options are to either wait for an economic collapse, which in my opinion is a pretty bad idea, or you need to make more money by changing jobs. Which is why I'm pleased to once again be partnering with the expert career coaches over at strawberry.me to help you do just that. Strawberry.me provides access to certified and human career coaches anywhere and anytime that fits your schedule. And we're talking about real career coaching here, okay? This is not therapy and it is not consulting. Strawberry.me coaches will sit down with you and help you get clear on what your career goals are. They will develop an action-oriented and results-driven strategy for getting ahead in your career goals, and they will help keep you accountable for following through on those career moves. As many of you know, I was a professional career coach myself for over 5 years, and so before accepting this sponsorship, I made a point to sit down with one of the coaches over at strawberry.me and test out the service for myself. And I was legitimately blown away by that experience. I got matched that same day with a career coach named Richard, who was certified by the International Coaching Federation, had over 20 years of experience helping people through job transitions, and was just generally enjoyable to talk to. And the crazy thing is that this level of career coaching has historically only been reserved for top business executives or the ultra wealthy. But strawberry.me has finally made high quality career coaching affordable and accessible. One of the best investments you can make is in your own career. So if you're serious about your success, then stop guessing and start planning. Get matched with a certified career coach now at strawberry.me/urgentlyfiring and claim 50% off your first coaching session. Right now, corporate America runs on fear. Okay, companies don't have to make workers happy in order to keep them loyal for years. They have to make them too scared to quit. Just think about what's happened over the past 3 years. Hiring freezes, return to office mandates, 6-round interviews, college graduates not being able to land a job, trade school students not being able to land an apprenticeship, thousands of applicants for every job posting, companies posting fake job listings for the sake of data mining, and a news cycle that is dominated by major companies laying off thousands of workers. Corporate America has convinced workers that finding a new job is impossible, and so people are desperately clinging to the positions that they already have, even if they lost their remote days and now have to pay $5 a gallon for gas. Even if they're in a full-time, 2-income household that still can't afford to own their own home because of wage stagnation. And even if this new paradigm is completely sabotaging their careers. Because when people are scared of taking risks, then they stop asking for wages, they stop reporting harassment, they stop pushing back against their boss's ideas in meetings, they even stop taking vacations or moving to new cities for work. And slowly but surely, the entire American economy slows down to a complete standstill, and eventually recedes because companies are no longer able to grow and adapt. There's this old saying in the business world that you have to spend money in order to make money. And unfortunately for the American worker, our business leaders have become completely allergic to spending money over the past few years. Instead of making better products, they'd rather just lay people off. Instead of experimenting with hybrid work or a 4-day work week to boost productivity, they'd rather keep employees burnt out and scared of getting fired. And instead of trying to gain modern perspectives by hiring Gen Z graduates, they'd rather demand 3 to 5 years of relevant experience for quote-unquote entry-level jobs so that they never have to train or deal with young adults. They are acting like fantasy dragons sitting on trillion-dollar piles of gold who then gaslit American politicians into thinking that hoarding money is somehow good for the economy. But it's not. Okay, we are not a 3,000-year-old society like China or Italy. We aren't built around people doing the same job as their great-great-great-great-great-grandfathers. The American economy is dynamic and competitive, and that's exactly what has allowed it to be great in the past. Because having a super well-educated and well-compensated workforce has given our people an immense incentive to innovate and pull off insane technological feats. We invented the internet, we invented the airplane, we put a man on the moon, and we put 700 calories on a single slice of pizza for only $1.99. Okay, that's what we do. Fear and hoarding has no place whatsoever in a thriving American economy. And it's my prediction that these companies who are laying off workers and refusing to hire are going to be the ones hardest hit when the next inevitable economic crisis happens. And so if you, as the American worker, want to keep your head above water when that time comes, then this is just my personal opinion and should not be taken as financial advice, but it might be time to quit your job. After you've secured a new one. Okay, please apply for and interview for jobs in secret, get a new one, and then quit. Okay, bye.